It's a fine time to be back. Good morning and welcome to Sports Central. It's live and exclusive to Spectrum Television. My name is Isaac, and I'm excited to be back as always to take you through the biggest stories making rounds in this very exciting industry called sports. So there's a lot to talk about this particular morning. We take a look at what's happening from the tennis scene. 3 tournaments going down, one in Dubai, one in Mexico, and the other in Chile. We talk about the biggest winners from last night. We talk about basketball this particular morning. We saw some intense action go down at the NBA. We take you through the latest results from the action going down at the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks continue their dominant run, 15 games on the bounce right now, and that's the story from there. We'll talk about football. Manchester United were in action last night, qualifying for the next round of the FA Cup. We talk about Arsenal and how they've set up a 5-point advantage in the Premier League standings right now. This and many more from the crux of the conversation with you this particular morning. But before we get into all of this talk, let's take you through the news stories making rounds in Sport Wrap-Up. It's time. Welcome. Well, Novak Djokovic is the first word of call this morning. He impressed as he defeated Talon Grespor in straight sets to reach the Dubai Tennis Championships quarterfinals. The 22-time Grand Slam champion, taken to 3 sets by qualifier Thomas Bachak on Tuesday, defeated Dutchman 6-2, 6-3. The Serbian world number 1 will face Polish 5th seed Hubert Hurkacz on Thursday for a place in the semi-finals. Djokovic, who is 35, is chasing a 6th Dubai title and is playing his first tournament since winning the Aussie Open with a hamstring injury last month. Defending champion Andrei Rublev also saved 5 match points to recover from a set down to advance. The second seed defeated Alejandro Davidovich Fokina 1-6, 7-6, 8-6, 7-6, 7-3 and will now face Botic van Janslop of the Netherlands in the last 16 of the competition. Former world number 1 Daniil Medvedev, who has recently won titles in Rotterdam and Doha, and an 11th consecutive victory by beating Kazakhstan Alexander Bublik 6-2, 6-4 and faces Croatia's Borna Coric next. Italy's world number 67 Lorenzo Sonego completes the quarterfinal lineup, meeting Germany's Alexander Zverev in the last 8 after a 7-6, 7-4, 6-4 win over Felix Auger-Aliassime. While still talking tennis, 4th ranked Casper Ruud lost to qualifier Taro Daniil 7-5, 2-6, 7-6 in a round of 16 match at the Mexican Open on Wednesday. For Daniil, the victory was his first against a top 10 player and propelled him into the quarterfinals. The 30-year-old Daniil, ranked 125 in the ATP rankings, had a record of 8 losses against players ranked in the top 10. Before beating Ruud, Daniil's finest victory was over Novak Djokovic at the Indian Wells in 2018, when the Serbian was ranked 13th. Ruud reached number 2 in the rankings after losing the last US Open final to Carlos Alcaraz. Against Daniil, the Norwegian committed 46 unforced errors and slipped into 34 in 2023. Daniil will try to extend his run of success when he takes on Alex de Minaur, who defeated Jacopo Berrettini 6-1, 6-love. Well, let's talk about basketball. Kevin Durant scored 23 points in the Phoenix Suns' debut as Devin Booker stole the show with 37 points in a 105-94 victory over the Charlotte Hornets this morning. Durant stepped out for the Suns for the first time since his trade last month, having been sidelined with a strained right ankle with 6 rebounds, 2 assists and 2 blocks. Booker shot his 37-point haul with 6 rebounds and 7 assists, while DeAndre Ayton scored 16 points with 16 rebounds. Veteran guard Chris Paul took a backseat with only 2 points whilst providing 11 assists as the New York Suns showed off their multi-dimensional lineup. The victory snapped the Hornets' 5-game winning streak by the Suns going up to a strong display. The Suns right now on a record of 34 wins and 29 losses. We're also talking about basketball. Anthony Davis, who joined LeBron James on the sidelines and missed the LA Lakers' game against Oklahoma City Thunder later this morning. The Lakers said Davis had a right foot stress injury, which is an issue that has cost him to miss 20 games this season. Darvin Ham's 29-33 side are already without James who has an ankle problem. D'Angelo Russell has a foot problem as they look to launch a charge to qualify for the playoffs. Entering Wednesday's slate of games, the Lakers are 12th to the Western Conference. Wednesday's game was second of a back-to-back for LA Lakers, having lost 121-109 to the Memphis Grizzlies on Tuesday. Joel Embiid will also not play on Wednesday due to a sore foot, missing the Philadelphia 76ers clash against the Miami Heat. 76ers said it was a left foot soreness, forcing him to miss a game for the 13th time this particular season, sadly. Well, let's talk about football finally. Premier League champions Manchester City are considering a move for Chelsea midfielder Mateo Kovacic as a potential alternative to prime target Jude Bellingham, according to The Telegraph. Bellingham, who is 19, is said to be the target of interest for a number of European clubs across the continent. City are now considering alternative options. Kovacic, who joined Chelsea back in 2018, has established himself as one of the best midfielders in recent seasons, has made more than 200 appearances for Chelsea, but his current contract is due to expire in the summer of 2024, but it's unclear whether or not it will be extended. City boss Pep Guardiola is said to be an admirer of Kovacic, who lifted the Champions League 4 times throughout his career at Real Madrid and Chelsea. And of course, City were also said to be interested in getting the man 5 years ago, although he decided to join Chelsea when he left the Spanish capital. Well, these are the stories we're tracking right now. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll have Blind on the Cape join the conversation, and together with the justice to what's in the plate. Please stick around. Right back in a jiffy.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian.
From issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
security,
Education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
allowed by gross them. Our governors.
And welcome to this exciting morning to talk sports. My name is Blyden Nukem and I have Marizona here for company. Well, just as we always say, the men are ready, the boys are hungry, and let's see how we can dish out what's inside the plate. The big talking point would be when you see the champions or potential champions, I'm already calling them champions, do the magic beating Everton 4-0 they mean business. But at the other side of the football world, it had to be Manchester United. They showed dominance and class, winning that game, and the young lad, Garnacho, turned up to the party. Marizona, good to have you on the show this morning.
Yeah, definitely, Vlad, and it's a fantastic morning to be back.
It's hitting it the way it is, but thank you, by the way.
Definitely. You look good, actually.
You look stunning too.
I do. Well,
I did promise you the flower, but I didn't bring it to that. I'll get to
Florida
about it tomorrow. But the excitements are up. Sporting activities are ticking up all around the world. We'll also have our guests to be part of it. Two of them. First, Ezekiel Billy, who help us x-ray what's happening in the world. Yeah. Thank you. Good to have you on the show. How's it been from that side? How's it been looking at the details that's happening in the world of sports? First, in basketball, the excitement in basketball, you've seen Kevin Durant doing the magic since he joined the Phoenix Suns with Devin Booker. Also, to Medvedev, how are you today? Good morning. Good to have you, to Medvedev.
Yeah.
Better than that of Lagos, but we'll see what we do.
I think it's a lot about the infrastructure situation.
Okay.
These two states particularly. Well, good morning, UT. Good morning, Billy. It's good to have you guys too.
All right. Without delay, let's get to the topics and the parties and what's happening in the world of tennis. We'll begin with tennis, and we'll get to talk more with Utube David and the excitement with it. Marizona, let's look at what's happening in the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championship. It had to be some of the biggest superstars, Novak Djokovic, as well as a holder of this one, defending champion, Andrei Rublev, progressing to the next level of the competition. It's been coming, and when you have big tournaments of this magnitude, you always get to see what the big superstars are doing, and Novak Djokovic is doing that, as well as the defending champion, Andrei Rublev.
Yeah, definitely, Vlad. Let's begin with Novak Djokovic. 14 wins right now. He's yet to lose again this particular season, and it shows you how much quality this man has been. But when I saw the bearings, Stellan Grispo is not the biggest of tennis players, particularly if you compare him and his quality to that of Novak Djokovic. And that was clearly why we saw how dominant the win was. When Novak struggled against Thomas Maczak in the previous game, the game spanned for over 3 sets, and then there were concerns about Djokovic's match fitness and his sharpness particularly, but he put all of that concern in the gutters yesterday, putting up a very fine performance, defeating Grespo in the best of fashions. Well, he continues his chase for this trophy, and that looks good for me. Well, the only man that seems to stand in his way will be Andrei Rublev, the defending champion in this competition, who also was a winner last night. It was a dominant win for Rublev. He's been fantastic this particular year. He's already won a trophy, and that shows you quality particularly. And then there's also Daniil Medvedev, also in and around the same. Medvedev has won 2 trophies this season already, one in Rotterdam and the other in Doha. So it shows you kind of quality we're looking forward to in Dubai particularly. And there's a lot of money. I saw the amount of money expected, for the winners. It's a lot. So I see why the big names are participating here. But so far so good. I think it's a case of the big guns showing quality. Medvedev has now gone how many? 11 games successive winning, and that shows you quality. For Rublev, he's a defending champion, so to whom much is given, much is also expected. And for Novak Djokovic, coming into this competition as a winner of the first Grand Slam of the year, there's a lot to be expected, Lyden.
Well, there's lots to be expected, but we get to expect lots from Utube David also from tennis point of view. Utube, are you there? Let's talk about Novak Djokovic and the antecedents of Novak Djokovic. We saw him win the Australian Open and is moving forward to the next tournament, the Dubai Duty-Free Tournament. First game, he did struggle in the very first game after staying out about 3 weeks not playing tennis, and now he's back and showing dominance in Dubai tennis.
And this man, despite the injury, looking around him. I'm talking about the Australian Open injury where he had an hamstring injury. He's still find his way back. And some would say he's in for something very, phenomenal this season. He's actually chasing his 6th Dubai title, and he's a 22 Grand Slam champion. So to a large extent, he's got quality in his side, despite the injury worries looking around him during the Australian Open last year. He still have everything within his powers. So, of course, get through and actually win this particular Dubai title. A 6th Dubai title, I tell you, that's a record-breaking for him. 22 Grand Slam champion, and to a large extent, he's doing quite phenomenally well. And many are expecting him to get this particular one off the line as well.
Well, talk to us about Andrei Rublev, who's the champion in this one, the defending champion in Dubai Free Tennis. The last time we saw a defending champion defend the title was way back in 2014-2015 when Roger Federer did that magic. Since then, it's been the fact that you win it and you lose it moving forward. No one has done it since Federer 2014-2015. A long time it is. And now Andrei Rublev is also showing dominance, moving to the next level of the competition. What are we expecting? Can he go all the way? And with Novak Djokovic, who could be a big barrier for him?
Well, definitely. I think Novak Djokovic would be a very big barrier for him because if you're talking about a tournament where you have, quality tennis stars, the likes of Daniil Medvedev as well, in the competition, Novak Djokovic as well, you won't be that dominant. I mean, to get through the hurdle without facing the likes of Novak Djokovic and, of course, Daniil Medvedev as well. He's the defending champion, but to a large extent, I think he's yet to be tested quality-wise. Because, we've had Novak Djokovic still in the competition. And, of course, we still have former world #1 Daniil Medvedev as well. So that, to a large extent, will also, test his resolve and also see the level of quality he has to defend this particular title he won last time out. Andrei Rublev, for me, quality-wise, is doing really well. But then the likes of Novak Djokovic and Daniil Medvedev may just likely be a big barrier for him ahead of defending the title he was last time out.
Well, let's talk about Daniil Medvedev. We've seen the quality he's brought, especially in February. Last year, he was doing quite well in February, showing that dominance. Got to world #1 in February last year, stayed about 2 weeks, and then dropped. And this year, it's February already, beginning of the season, he's hit 2 major titles, and this would be the 3rd if he goes on to win it. 11 consecutive wins for him, and it speaks good volume about the quality he brings. But now we are in March. What gets to happen? Because he seems to be doing well in February. Can we see shockers in March for him?
Well, I think he's doing quite well. Just like you said, he won recent titles in Rotterdam and Doha, and he actually earned 11 consecutive victory, and that to a large extent quite dominant and speaks volume of him. Talking about former world #1 Daniil Medvedev. Over time we've had, table tennis players climbing up the ladder. You're called world #1 this year, and the next year you drop in terms of ranking. Due to, of course, some tournaments that have actually gave you, those points right there. And I think Daniil Medvedev still have all it takes. We talk about consistency. If you're consistent enough, I mean, the title in Rotterdam and Doha speaks volume of him. And we're talking about 11 consecutive victory, and that shows you how consistent he's been right here. You can actually, of course, get through to the finals. It's quite possible. I mean, the likes of Andrei Rublev, the likes of Novak Djokovic, are still there in the competition. And then we're talking Daniil Medvedev, who's been tagged one of the favorites to get this one as well. So if he's been able to gather titles in Doha and Rotterdam, then definitely has every single quality to get this particular as well. So a possibility, likely for me, that Daniil Medvedev can actually get through to the finals of this particular one as well.
Well, good opportunities for some of the superstars who can get through in this particular one. That's happening in Dubai, the Dubai GT Free Tennis. We saw the women's game from that angle where there was great dominance. But for the men, it's quite competitive. But we get to talk about what's happening in Mexico and Chile. Marizona, let me come to you now. Let's see what's happening in Mexico. Shocker for you, #4 seeded player, world #4, Kasparov, losing in this one. Yeah. Losing, great shock. Talk to us about it.
Well, the truth is, Blyden, I was not entirely surprised because I saw Kasparov's performance, before that particular game. It was poor. And then his rise this year has not been glamorous. He's been struggling. He's lost more games than he's won so far this season, and that clearly spells out his struggles this particular season. So I wasn't surprised. For Taro Daniel, he's 30. came through the year with so much experience and so much energy, and then he's beaten his first top 10 player, and it shows you quality. I saw Kasparov play, in the last 2 previous tournaments before now, and there was nothing tangible to look forward to from his quality. And I think I was not entirely surprised, but it was a remarkable win, a remarkable achievement for Daniil, who's been in and around the tennis scene for like 10 years, but he's not been able to get to that level where he's considered top player. This is actually his first win against a top 10 opponent. He's lost 8 times before now, and that shows you quality. So holistically, I think it was a fantastic win for Daniil, but also it clearly spells out the fact that Kasparov is struggling, and there is no hope right now for him.
He did talk about what's happening in Mexico and Chile, and he said the big boys are in Dubai.
Yeah.
So the smaller guys are in Mexico and Chile.
Yeah.
And that's why it should be surprising, because you expect the likes of Kasparov to show dominance in Mexico, get to win it.
The truth is, on paper, he should win this game. He's world number 4.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of quality expected. But if you look at his performances this year, he hasn't showed that he's world number 4. He struggled for game.
What's the difference this year and last year?
Well, I just cannot tell, because I'm expecting him. He never participated in the last 2 tournaments for last year. Had a lot of time to rest. But I'm wondering why he's so match rusty.
Maybe rested too much, so he's match rusty.
Maybe, but he's young to be resting too much. Look at what Charlie Smith is doing this year.
Yeah.
Look at the likes of Carlos Alcaraz performing at the highest level this year after having a fantastic year last year. So what's the rationale behind being this poor this year? I think there is no excuse for him, and I think he has to get himself back on track, because right now, there's a lot of competition for that top 5 spot. We're talking Hubert Foucault, we're talking about Rublev, we're talking Daniil Medvedev, and a lot of names chasing that number 5 spot. So you have to be at your best. If not, so you drop it down.
All right, thank you, Arizona. You have to be at your best. If not, you get to drop down. And it's a story in all fields of life. Well, let's move to basketball. But while we're going to basketball, we're also moving to Lagos, talking with Ezekiel Billy, rather. Ezekiel Billy, are you there? This morning, some stunning performances took place, and it had to be Kevin Durant. Since that trade movement for Kevin moving to the Phoenix Suns, it had been concerning what the pairing and the outcome would be. But finally, we saw Kevin Durant do the magic. First pairing with Devin Booker, and it did turn out well for them. Good result for him, hitting massive 23 points. How did he take the game this morning? Well, Mari, maybe you can take that while we're waiting for Billy.
Yeah.
Did he get us, Billy? Connection still difficult.
Like I was saying, the addition of Kevin Durant, as I'm seeing the Phoenix Sun, feeling the heat. We saw him make that huge movement down to the Phoenix Sun, and yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. For Kevin Durant making his debut after 52 days away, we saw him picked up that injury on in the month of January, where he had that massive injury at his right sprain, MLC right sprain injury, and saw him could not play any game for Miami Heat before making Son, who has been struggling.
Well, while we're waiting for Billy to connect and get well.
The NBA, this morning, that about the Nigerian time, I saw the masterclass from Kevin Durant. Yes, he might be rusty at this point in time.
All right, Marizona, Billy's talking about Kevin Durant being rusty.
Yeah.
Since January 8th, he played the last game for him. He played the last game in the NBA because of these injuries. And he's back. And his first game, 24 minutes, he 23 points. Did that look like someone that was rusty for you?
No, definitely no, Blyden. Despite his struggles, physically speaking, for the past couple of weeks, particularly, but he showed quality. And then, the hallmark of a good player is the fact that, in as much as you're out for quite a while, you come back and you put up a worthy performance. This man is that quality. And I think he's going to be missed by the Brooklyn Nets every single time. I say he showed quality again, this morning for, his new look side. Imagine coming in your first game, you're putting over 20 points. That shows you quality. And I'm looking at the multi-dimensional lineup of the, Phoenix Suns. It makes a lot of sense for me because at this point, Durant is performing at the top level. Devin Booker was over here. He posted 37 points this morning to Chris Paul, who is a veteran in the team, put up also very fine performance. Holistically, it was a good, a team performance from the Phoenix Suns. But for Kevin Durant, I think from here, he's going to be improving as much as possible because we saw the quality ourselves. We saw the energy brought into the game. We saw the attacking verve he gave to the Phoenix Suns, and that was a difference on the night for them. So holistically, it was a fine game for Durant. it's from here an improvement going forward.
Well, talking about the improvement moving forward, big games also happen. Jason Tatum did the magic, hitting 40 points in this one. And you get to talk about the Boston Celtics and the performance of Jason Tatum, and it's making sense every day. That consistency we get to talk about, it's happened with the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum.
Definitely, Blyden, one of the most consistent players this particular season. He except he's out, but I don't think he's had 2 or 3 bad games this season. He's been very good. 20 plus points, 30 plus points at some points, and he's that good. And that shows you the kind of quality this man is. He's been a key figure and a key role, in the Celtics' fantastic run of form so far so good, despite the fact that they've dropped to second position, losing grounds to the Milwaukee Bucks. But holistically, they've been one of the finest teams if you look at quality-wise. Al Horford was a fantastic performer this morning for the team. Jaylen Brown, sadly, he's still out with personal reasons, but it was the good stuff to see how the Celtics rally around Al Horford and Jason Tatum to get that much-needed victory. They've been struggling for the past 2 games. Remember how they dropped grounds to the Milwaukee Bucks and all of that, but I think that they're getting themselves back on track and they want to retain that #1 position. As things go, for them, they look like a team that can get themselves back on track.
The interesting part about this particular game was even for the Cavaliers, he had Donovan Mitchell hitting massive good points in this one, 44 points, but it wasn't good enough because you look at Jason Tatum had 41 points in this one, and quite decent the performances has been for the Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, talk to us about Donovan Mitchell and his performances, say moving from the Utah Jazz to the Cavaliers, decent performance. Remember, he did hit that 71 massive point. And the consistency have been all about probably 30 points, 40 points. In this game, 44 points. And it goes on to show the mark in different teams. Utah Jazz, he could barely hit 30-something points. And he was such a good player, and he's doing it for the Cavaliers.
Well, the truth is, Donovan Mitchell's quality has never been in doubt, right? Especially this particular year, he's showed so much dominance. This season, rather, showed so much energy. You talked about 71 points. At some point, he was averaging 35 points per game, and that shows the amount of quality this man has brought into the team. For Mitchell, he's that kind of player. Sadly, his team barely rallies around him, because he's the biggest name in the side. So when he plays against teams like the Celtics, where they've got a holistic team, the players' units particularly, it's difficult for him to get those wins in, and that's been the story, for Mitchell so far. But take nothing away from him. He's one fine individual star that if he had maybe Kevin Durant or Jaylen Brown as a partner in that team, things would have been a lot more better for the Cavaliers, Blyden.
Well, probably we'll try to join Billy again, Ezekiel Billy. If you're still there, we'll get to join you again. But the talking point would be the Knicks defeating the Brooklyn Nets side. We've seen the struggle with the Brooklyn Nets side since the movement of the big players, talking about KD, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. It's been a struggle for them. Mikal Bridges coming in once in a while, but it's not really working out for them. And this morning, they lost to the New York Knicks again. Billy? Billy, did you get the conversation? So we're talking about the New York Knicks. The struggles have been that of the New York Knicks.
Sorry, come again. Network.
Oh, we'll have to do something about the network in Lagos. Maybe lots of situations regarding the voting processes are very quite difficult from Lagos, but we'll do the bit we can to see how we can join it. But we're talking about the New York Knicks and the antecedents that comes with it. But on the other hand, you're looking at the performance of some of these big teams, talking about the Brooklyn Nets. The struggle continues for the Brooklyn Nets, Arizona, and it's quite difficult for them. We've seen the movement during that trade deal. Kevin Durant leaving the Brooklyn Nets to the Phoenix Suns, and Kyrie Irving leaving Brooklyn Nets to the Dallas Mavericks, and the concerns are there. Now they're losing games, and New York Knicks showing consistent performances. For a while, we did talk about the New York Knicks having that 6th consecutive win
over them,
but the win is continuing, and it's decent from that standpoint.
Well, clearly, Blyden, it shows quality. The Brooklyn Nets are dropping grounds. Now, look at the story. Before they sold off, they let off the 2 key men, Kyrie Irving and Durant leave the team. They were 3rd in the Western Conference. Right now, they've dropped to 6th position. There's even no hope because the New York Knicks are just right behind them, and they want to cross that barrier to the number 6 position. So it shows equality, and sadly, they let those stars go. They've not been able to replace them with stars of equal quality. And that's been the conversation for the Brooklyn Nets so far. They've lost 6 consecutive derbies because the New York Knicks against Brooklyn Nets is a derby. It's a New York derby, particularly, and it shows equality. So holistically, I'm not surprised because I saw this coming. I knew that once they let those 2 players leave the side, it was clearly a mark of the fact that they're not ready to compete for titles and trophies this season, and that's why we're seeing them drop down. And it's a downward spiral for them because it doesn't look like things are going to get better anytime soon. Cam Thomas, fine young star, but he's not going to give you 30 plus points every game. He's a player that comes through once or twice and then gets inconsistent. That's the conversation. So for the Brooklyn Nets, they have no key man that they can look forward to, look up to as a game changer, and that's the reason why they'll keep dropping down.
Well, let's go to where there are many key men to do the magic.
Yeah.
It has to be the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
16 consecutive wins now. When are they stopping? That'll be the question. Defeating the Orlando Magic's 139, it was 117. And the winning continues for them.
Definitely, Blyden. 15 straight games right now for the Milwaukee
16
Bucks.
now.
16 now, for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then the record is 20. For the franchise history. You remember that record, 1970.
Can this generation break that record?
Well, Blyden, it looks like, because I look at the way the team play. We've been overlooking them. They won 10 straight, we never talked about it. They won 12 straight, we never talked about it. We just realized that they had won 15 straight yesterday. Now it's 16. 4 more games to go and they quarter record. It shows equality, and there's no stopping them because I watched the way they play, this morning. Antetokounmpo at his very best again, his consistent best even again. We're talking about key performers, for the Milwaukee Bucks on the night. Loads of names who came through for the side, and that has been the conversation over time. So I think this generation has got what it takes, to get that way. Secondly, they're also thrilled with the potentiality of finishing the season as the top-ranked team all season. They've got the best record. 44 wins and 17 losses. That's the best record this season, and it shows you quality. So I think this particular generation, led by Antetokounmpo, has got a chance to get it. Secondly, Antetokounmpo is chasing an MVP award to the season, so he has to come through for the team.
He's always in a contest.
Definitely, but imagine taking the Bucks to the best record this season. That's a very good, a very good reason to award him the MVP this season. So holistically, I think this generation has got the quality to do that.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks has been quite decent, and they have the quality to go all the way, and Antetokounmpo winning the MVP if they get to do quite well at the end of it. But there were big concerns from the LA Lakers point of view, but finally they had a decent win against the Oklahoma City Thunders, 123-117 it ended. This is where we draw the curtain on basketball this morning, the NBA, and when we return, we'll be talking about football stories all the way. The champions did top Everton 4-0 yesterday. We'll get to talk about it when we return from this break. Welcome back. It's Sports Central. My name is Blyden Rukem, and I still have Marizona for company. We'll be looking at the very best of football stories around the world, looking at what's happening at the AFCON on the 20 quarterfinals perspective. Marizona, it's rolling today.
Yeah.
Nigeria Flying Eagles taking on the Hippos of Uganda.
Well,
what are the expectations in this game?
Well,
we saw the struggles from the group stages.
The Eagles against the Hippos. You know, the Eagles have got more technique, more tactics, and of course, they're not the biggest of animals.
Are we doing the animals now?
I was just saying. But holistically, I think it's going to be an interesting encounter because you look at both teams, you know, they came through the ranks with so much quality. For the Flying Eagles, you know, lost the first game against Senegal, won back-to-back against Egypt and Mozambique, and showed quality in those two games and showed champion stuff in those two games. And then, you know, looking forward to seeing them qualify. If they get this win against Uganda, they get to the semi-finals and also get a ticket for the World Cup. So two things at stake in this particular match. For Uganda, I don't think they're the best of teams. They just qualified because they play through an easy route, particularly because look at they won just one game, drew the other two. So not entirely the best of teams. So all things being equal, I think the Flying Eagles have got quality. You know, and then there would be given the potentiality of getting back the likes of Daniil Daga into the side. Daniel Bamayi, who was out in the previous game, should be in this game, particularly for the team. So lots of quality is expected. But I think the Flying Eagles have got what it takes to get this win in the bag.
Well, let's go to Utebe Nuyo and see what the outlook is for him regarding this particular game. Flying Eagles taking on the Hippos of Uganda in the quarterfinals of the AFCON game. Decent performances we've seen them give at the group stages, beating Egypt, as well as, what was the next opponent? Mozambique, beating Mozambique. 6 massive points it was for them, but they lost the first game to Senegal. Senegal has been quite dominant. But now they take on Uganda. Can they go all out, probably get to win this one and qualify for the World Cup? And who knows, maybe go all the way to win this particular cup, the AFCON Under-20 Nations Cup. We've seen the performances they've given over time. They've won it 7 massive times. Can they make it 8?
For them, talking about quality-wise, look at how the Flying Eagles have actually fared these particular tournaments. Even in the build-up to this tournament, the pre-season friendlies, they actually engaged themselves in. They really did well, and I think in the very first game, some would say it was actually a reality check for them, losing to Egypt, losing to Senegal rather, and then going as far as winning Egypt, and of course their second group game. 6 points they've actually had in that particular group. It looks like they've actually been high flying, and on my own part, I feel there is no stopping by for them at this time. They are actually tipped one of the favorites to represent the continent of Africa in the upcoming World Cup in Indonesia. And if they get this one off the line against the Hippos, then definitely the final, with much level of assurance and quality, they can actually get this one off the line as well. So everything is quite possible for them. And Ladenbos has done a very great job in galvanizing these lads to do quite to be quite dominant in the, of course, the group stages of the game. So everything against the Hippos, they should be throwing against them. They have been resolute and resilient on the pitch of play. So definitely, if they get this one off the line, then everything seems possible for them in the remainder of the tournament.
Well, while talking about the best and opportunities for the Flying Eagles, many Ugandans wouldn't agree with all of our conversation because they think the Hippos are quite strong. But let's move away from that and get to talk about what happened in the English Premier League and the FA Cup, beginning with Manchester United, Marizona.
Yeah.
Manchester United were down in the early part of the second half, but that comeback. But the top of the story wasn't just about the comeback. It was about one player, Alejandro
Garnacho. Alejandro Garnacho. Well,
Garnacho coming back, hitting that fantastic goal, the Coiler. But it wasn't enough. Fred did the final minute dominance, hitting his own goal, and United are back winning. Talk to us about that performance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Billy would be so happy because he's been shouting about Garnacho for the past couple of years now. But looking at United's performance yesterday, showed quality. Yeah. First up, they considered the first goal early into the game. They had to leave it late. 70 minutes. Agued got that own goal, and then Garnacho made it 2-1 and Fred made it 3-1. Fantastic performance from United. They showed champions quality. They showed that they never gave up until the very last minute because look at the way they played, despite dropping, the goal advantage at some point. They were fantastic, particularly showed a lot of quality, a lot of dominance. And kudos to Marcel Sabitzer. That man has consistently put up good performances for United. And I'm thinking maybe, why are they going for Frankie de Jong? This man can do what Frankie does for them because he gives them solidity in the midfield and gives them attacking verve, gives Fred technical brilliance, technical freedom to go forward and get involved in the attack. And that was the conversation yesterday. Well, for Garnacho, He's a new poster boy for United, new golden boy. He's even dyed his hair. So it shows you quality, particularly from a performance-based rankings. But holistically, I think it was a fine stuff from United. As we discussed the other day, they're chasing three more trophies. And I heard Ten Hag talk yesterday. He says that the team are in for all of his trophies. And that shows you the gradual transformation of mentality from being a mediocre team to a team chasing trophies.
Arizona, let's look at something.
Yeah.
We're talking about a team that's doing well and youngsters are showing class. We get to talk about those who are not doing well. But when you have the fans in eruption, they're standing up and everyone is singing, Viva Garnacho, Viva Garnacho. It must mean a lot for the youngster.
Yeah.
And how does it get to propel him moving forward?
Definitely. Well, I also don't want him to let all of this talk get into his head. Because we've seen youngsters come through the ranks of United, but due to the excessive media attention, they get complacent and then forget about the main thing, which is to play football. They just become stars and forget about the main thing that made them stars. So I want him to keep his head down. He has a talent. He's got loads of brilliance at his feet. He should do a lot better. Maybe improve his game, add some more goals to his game, add some more creativity to his game and all of that. So that should be the conversation. But holistically, he's a fine youngster. But let's see what he does with his career in the next 5 years.
Southampton are out of the FA Cup.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Blyden.
Spurs are out.
Not surprised too.
Not surprised?
Yeah, I'm not surprised
The
too.
concern has always been from a Tottenham Hotspur's point of view that they ought to win titles, have not won titles. And that has been the bane for Harry Kane. He scored all the goals and not won titles. And finally, at a time where we thought they had a decent team, maybe they could push their luck moving forward and get to win one, the FA Cup. They're out of it now.
Well, sadly, for Southampton, the team 64 places below them won them, and they've struggled for form this season. They've sacked coaches and appointed coaches. Things haven't just been fine for them, so I'm not surprised for Tottenham. Well, Tottenham play with a very, very mediocre mentality. Even when they win games, they defeated Chelsea because they were poor. Chelsea were poorer than them, particularly. So holistically, I'm not surprised with the way both teams dropped out of the competition yesterday. It just shows you that the better team won the games last night.
Well, let's talk to Billy again and try our luck and see if the connection would be better. Is Billy still there? Good to have you, Billy. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday we saw Arsenal show dominance the way they played moving forward. It was the Premier League, that outstanding game. They very much talked about outstanding game they had. And now they won it moving 60 points and 5 points clear of Manchester City. What has been that momentum for Arsenal from your angle?
At this point in time, great play for the Gunners. Massive victory for Arsenal against the Toffees at the Emirates Stadium. Watch that great dominance from Arsenal against Everton in the first half. The likes of Bukayo Saka, and also not to forget Gabriel Martinelli. They've done great. But the question would have to be, there's something that has changed from this Arsenal side before the World Cup and after the World Cup. Before the World Cup, Arsenal lost just 3 games after playing over 15, 16, 17 matches. But after the World Cup, Arsenal have lost 3 games. In just how many games? In just 12, 13 games, Arsenal have lost 3 already. Now, this puts a huge question mark on their momentum to go and win trophies, to win the English Premier League. Because we've seen an early resurgence for Manchester United, who have won 13 games from their last 16. We've seen Manchester City flops. But the question would have to be, Arsenal needs to galvanize themselves if they have any hope of winning the trophy. They are out of the FA Cup. They are out of the Carling Cup. They've got the Europa Cup to focus on. And they've got the major dream. After 19 years, they'll be hoping to win the Premier League. But at this point in time, there's been a major shift from Mikel Arteta's entire players, the squad at which they play. And at this point in time, yes, they've brought in new signing, the likes of Jorginho, who has tried as much as possible to stable things in midfield. But can Mikel Arteta continue the pace in which he has started for Arsenal to galvanize them to winning the English Premier League?
Well, the outlook is different for different people, but the good thing is Arsenal is showing dominance and winning their games when it matters most. But let's talk about this other event that's happening. Look at it. Manchester City are linked with Kovacic of Chelsea. And quite surprising for many people because you look at the style of play of Kovacic. One word here that doesn't seem to fit with what Manchester City are doing. But the link is a link. It could happen. We've seen players move. When Jorginho left Chelsea to Arsenal, it was surprising to many. You could not see that happen. With the exodus happening in Chelsea, players are coming in, and likely a lot of players will leave Chelsea.
Well, the thing is, I'm looking at the potentiality and his adaptability, to United, suitability to City rather. Bernardo Silva's place at City is shaky. He wants to leave the team. And then Silva is a kind of movement player. He tries to do a lot of movements in midfield too. Bringing in Mateo Kovacic would be the ideal replacement for Bernardo Silva. He understands the Premier League through and through and would fit into the City system because they play the touch-I-touch, the tiki-taka system. So I think it's not entirely a bad idea, but that'll be held bent on Chelsea and Kovacic if they want him to leave.
Well, time is fast spent. We'll have to find a way to draw the curtain on this particular edition. But let me begin by saying, Ezekiel Billy, thank you for being part of the show. We get to do this next time, probably tomorrow. And Utube David, thank you for joining from the city of Uyo. Really appreciate you.
Very much, Billy. Thank you, Mari.
And Marizona, can't afford to thank you enough.
Yeah,
well, thank you for all you do for the show.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
What a show.
I'll try the best I can to get you that flower.
I need that flower, Bladden, from Florida.
Maybe this one will be from Atlanta.
Oh, nice.
Thank you for joining. You are the reason we do the show. Thank you very much. It's Sports Central. My name is Bladden Kim.